Skip Bayless here. I want to tell you about my podcast, The Skip Bayless Show. On this show, my show, I go deeper than I ever have, taking you behind the scenes of some of the biggest moments in sports, behind the headlines, even peeling back the curtain on my own personal life. I like to call it the undisputed. Instead of debating my partner Shannon Sharp, I'll tell you stories you've never heard before and let you in on what makes me, me. Make sure you listen to The Skip Bayless Show on your favorite podcast app.
Empire.
Welcome to Inside the Cap. I'm your host, Joel Corey. You can find me on Twitter at CoreyJoel. That's CorryJoel. You can also read my regular CBSSports.com column, Agent's Take on NFL salary cap and contract matters. This time around, we're going to look at the most recent developments in the quarterback market. That means the new contracts of Derek Carr, Geno Smith, and Daniel Jones. And we're going to get the ball rolling with Derek Carr's new contract. As we all know, Derek Carr was released by the Las Vegas Raiders before $32.9 million, his $32.9 million 2023 base salary and $7.5 million of his $41.9 million base salary were going to become guaranteed on February 15th, which is the third day of the waiver period. That gave him a jump start or head start on free agency, and he took full advantage of that. Now, Carr signs a 4-year, $150 million deal with the Saints, with the New Orleans Saints. There's $60 million fully guaranteed at signing and $100 million in overall guarantees. Now, he was scheduled to make over the next 3 years $116.3 million from his previous contract, so he acquitted himself fairly well. Now, the Saints always made a lot of sense because, one, they're the only team which expressed some interest in trading for Carr, and two, he played for Dennis Allen previously. Dennis Allen was the Raiders head coach when he was drafted. He got fired early in Carr's rookie season, but nonetheless there's a connection there. And there's a major need at quarterback from the Saints. They haven't really found a long-term solution since Drew Brees retired. Now, the deal has a $28.5 million signing bonus, a $1.5 million 2023 base salary. The 2024 base salary is fully guaranteed. So that's where the $60 million that's fully guaranteed comes from. There's a $10 million March roster bonus in 2025, a fifth day of the league year roster bonus in 2025. So, and that is guaranteed for injury signing along with his 2025 $30 million base salary. Both of those are guaranteed for injury signing. That's where you get the $100 million in total guarantees. Now, the $10 million roster bonus becomes fully guaranteed third day of the 2024 league year. So that means next March, around this time, that $10 million will vest. The $30 million base salary in 2025, that becomes fully guaranteed on the third day of the 2025 league year. There's an unsecured 2026 contract year that bumps up the number to me because there's $50 million in salary that year, $40 million base salary, and a $10 million fifth day of the 2026 league year roster bonus. So Carr's going to be assured of getting $70 million out of this deal. They're not going to cut him before the third day of the 2024 league year when the $10 million vests in 2025. There's an offset so they could recoup some of the money if he didn't make the 2025. But I'm really looking at this as $100 million over 3 years, which is a 3-year deal. Even on paper, it's 4, so it's $37.5 million. Realistically, I'm calling it $33,333,333 per year. So Carr basically lost 16.3 in the process from what he was scheduled to make on that Raiders deal that he was released from. As you would expect with the Saints, this is a 4-year deal, but the Saints, since they like to kick the can down the road better than any team I've ever seen in NFL history, they are avoiding dummy years in this contract. There is a listed base salary in 2027, 2028, and 2029 of $40 million. You can prorate signing bonus over 5 years. So they've got 2 years with no proration right now, which allows them, because there are automatic conversion rights in the contract, which is basically in any major contract nowadays, that you have the right to convert money into signing bonus to create cap room. So this already contemplates that they're going to have 2 salary cap restructures or conversions to kick the can down the road in 2024 and possibly 2025. So that means you got the signing bonus being prorated at $5.7 million annually, 2023, 2024, 25, 26, and 27. So Carr's cap number in 2023 is very manageable, $7.2 million. Jumps up to $35.7 million in 2024. Then it goes to $45.7 million in 2025. Then $55.7 million in 2026. There's right now $5 million of proration sitting there for 2027. If you got that fake dummy salary of $40 million in there, and these years void on the last day of the 2026 league year, 27 through 2029. So, Carr did a pretty good job as far as I'm concerned on his contract. Now, Geno Smith is a case of don't believe what you read about a contract, because how a contract is presented and how a contract actually is can be 2 different things. Now, when the reports came out, it was billed as $105 million over 3 years, which is $35 million per year. Now, I'm like, hey, when someone asked me, what do you think about Geno's contract? I was like, seems like a pretty good deal for him based on preliminary reports. Yep. Yeah, then the fine print, other details of the contract started coming out. It ain't quite what it seems to be. That's the max value, not the base value, and that's something that agents do. They'll report the max value, give it to someone, because it's kind of like if a newspaper, when there were newspapers, got something wrong, that the original report got a whole lot more attention than the retraction. Not as many people were paying attention to the amended report of the contract. It's $75 million over 3 years is what the base value of the contract is. That Geno's getting a $26.1 million signing bonus, $1.2 million base salary in 2023, $200,000 workout bonus in each of the 3 years. So he's got $27.5 million in cash attributed to 2023. He's got a $12.7 million base salary in 2024 and a $9.6 million fifth day of the league year roster bonus as well. 2025 base salary $14.8 million, and he's got a $10 million fifth day of the league year roster bonus in 2025. And as I said, the $200,000 in workout bonuses in each year of the contract. Now, the way the Seahawks structure contracts, that means that the guarantee upon signing is going to be lower than it would be in most other places. That there's 27.3, which is fully guaranteed at signing. The overall guarantee is 40. The roster bonus is unsecured. I forget exactly what year it was, but Seattle stopped guaranteeing the base salary in year 2 upon signing. They do have an early guarantee date. It goes from injury to fully guaranteed on the 5th day of the 2024 waiver period. That's been a staple of their contracts dating back to Russell Wilson's first contract extension in 2015. It was maybe 2012, 2013 when they stopped fully guaranteeing the second year upon signing, but nobody's been able to get that. Now, Geno coming in at this level isn't all that much of a surprise based on comments he made after they were eliminated by the 49ers in the wild card playoff round. I'm paraphrasing, but he said something to the effect that he wanted to do right by the Seahawks because they did right by him, that the way his career was going, he could have been out of the league, but they gave him a new lease on life. And when he made those comments, to me, that meant this is not a dude who's going to look to try to maximize every last dollar. And that's his prerogative, and that's fine. Now, there's a whole lot of upside in this contract. And the upside is in roster bonus escalators. He has $2 million for achieving 4,282 or more passing yards in the 2023 season, $2 million for 30 or more touchdown passes in the 2023 regular season. Has to have a minimum of 224 passing attempts, but that's $2 million for a completion percentage of 69.755% or better, $2 million for a passer rating of 100.874 or better, minimum 224 passing attempts, and $2 million if the club wins 10 or more games during the 2023 regular season or qualifies for the playoffs for the 2023 season, and the player participates in 80% or more of the club's offensive plays during the 2023 regular season. He didn't miss a snap last year. So if he hits all five, there's also an additional $5 million bonus. So this all gets added to the roster bonus. So that means that, let's say he earned everything. Then his 2022 roster bonus goes up by $15 million from 9.6 to, I guess that'd be, that's not my strong suit anymore now that I'm older, be 24.6 would be the roster bonus. So then that roster bonus would be 24.6 if you earned all five of them. Now, the escalator works the same way in 2025, same thresholds, but they apply to the 2024, his 2024 performance. So that's where the extra $30 million comes in. So it can max out at $105 million. And basically, the threshold's picked where he has to do essentially what he did last year for him to hit everything. He had for a franchise record, 4,282 yards, had 30 touchdown passes, 69.8 completion percentage, passer rating of 100.9. There were 9 wins by the Seahawks last year. So if he can duplicate what he did last year, 2 years in a row, he's going to make $35 million per year. If not, he's going to make somewhere below that. If last year was an anomaly, then he's still probably going to get 2 years out of this, but won't get year 3. So I'm really looking at this that it's 50 over 2, which is kind of a souped up version of Teddy Bridgewater. Bridgewater, first round pick who had that gruesome knee injury with the Vikings, which led to them trading with the Eagles for Sam Bradford in 2016. Then Bridgewater went to the Saints and was backing up. Actually, he signed with the Jets, then got traded to the Saints, I believe, and was backing up Drew Brees. Then went to Carolina, lasted 1 year there, but signed for 3 years, $63 million in 2020 with $33 million in total guarantees, and got traded for Denver. So this is kind of and that was in 2020. So this is kind of loosely an upgraded version of this deal with a whole lot more upside. So For Geno, given what he said at the press conference, not really surprised. Would have liked to have seen the deal a straight 90 over 3, but gives the Seahawks flexibility. Much better for them than him being on a $32.416 million franchise tag, which may have been an option. Also, probably takes them out of the quarterback market. They do have the 5th overall pick thanks to Russell Wilson stinking up the joint in Denver last year. The Broncos' 2023 first-round pick was a part of that trade. Now, where this deal is probably going to become relevant might be for Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, Garoppolo is probably the top quarterback with an expiring contract. I'm assuming Aaron Rodgers goes to the Jets. That gets worked out. He gets traded and he doesn't retire. I think this deal might have some relevance to Garoppolo. Now, to me, Garoppolo should be in play for the Raiders since Tom Brady retired and Carr's moved on to New Orleans. They've got a history with them because Josh McDaniel was the original offensive coordinator. Maybe the Texans as a bridge quarterback, and the money would be less probably in Houston. They're picking number 2. He might be a 1-year bridge deal in Las Vegas. Might be a 2-3-year deal. There is no real quarterback middle class, but this deal might make some sense, at least on the base value for Garoppolo. His last deal with the 49ers was 5 years, $135 million. Briefly made him the highest paid player in the league at $27 million per year. So maybe you're talking that Bridgewater, $21 million per year, to the $25 million base value with some upside. So I do think this deal may have some relevance for Geno Smith. For Jimmy Garoppolo. I think the Geno Smith deal could have some relevance for where Garoppolo ultimately ends up. And if I'm a betting man, then I'm going to say he'll be a Las Vegas Raider.
Imagine a service that picks up your laundry and returns it the next day, washed, fluffed, and perfectly folded, all to your exact specifications. That's Happy Nest. We know that customer satisfaction is everything, which is why we only partner with the best laundromats in your neighborhood. And by using high-efficiency, eco-friendly washers and dryers, we'll get your whites white while keeping the planet green. Save time for the important things and leave the laundry to us. To get started, download the app or go to happynest.com.
The most surprising and best deal of the 3 quarterbacks belongs to Daniel Jones. And Jones was originally represented by CAA and made a switch to Athletes First during the early part of the offseason. This is a case where the 5th-year option rules and the change with the 2020 CBA are coming back to haunt the New York Giants. Under the old rules, 5th-year options were guaranteed for injury upon exercise, then wouldn't become fully guaranteed till the first day of that 5th year, which would be this upcoming March 15th. Under the old rules, the Giants may have picked up the 5th-year option for Daniel Jones last May deadline. But $22.348 million to be fully guaranteed based on what you didn't see for Daniel Jones in the first 3 years, understand why they passed on it. Now, price point would have been a little bit different. As a top 10 pick, it would have been equal to the 2022 quarterback transition tag, which had been $27.186 million. But given where this deal actually came in, they probably could have done that and then had bought themselves more time. Wouldn't have had the same pressure to do a deal that they had to now. I think part of what Daniel Jones benefited from is they wanted to make sure that they got either Jones done or running back Saquon Barkley done. Jones, it became clear after they were eliminated from the playoffs that he was going to be the priority for the tag. So if push came to shove, they'd tag him, let Saquon hit the open market. Didn't really want either one of them. Didn't want one of them to be free, so I think they may have gone stretched a little bit more than they had planned to for Jones to get a deal done. This kind of also reminds me of the Titans in 2020. They had Ryan Tannehill and Derek Henry, quarterback, running back, both up. They got Tannehill done right before the tag deadline, so they could stick the tag on Derek Henry. Now, this Jones deal, it's $160 million over 4 years, $40 million per year. Now, last year's a little inflated. There's $47.5 million of cash in the last year, so you could say it's $1.12 million over 5, $37.5 million per year. That's the 3-year average. Either way, it's a whole lot of money for Daniel Jones, given what he did and didn't do this year. Now, there's $93 million fully guaranteed at signing. He's got a $36 million signing bonus, $9.5 million base salary in 2023. There's a $500,000 unsecured workout bonus in each year. That's not a part of the guarantee. He's got a $35.5 million base salary in 2024 that is fully guaranteed at signing. Now, there's a total guarantee for injury of $23 million in 2025. The base salary is $30 million. There's 23 guaranteed for injury. Now, 12 of the 23 is fully guaranteed at signing. Now, that's how you get to the 93, because you got 81 fully guaranteed in the first 2 years, plus that 12, that gets you 93. That's the full guarantee. Now, here's what gets interesting about that other 11 million, that if Jones is on the roster the 5th day of the 2025 league year, that 11 million guarantee, injury guarantee, voids. So it disappears. So I'm calling it 93 fully guaranteed at signing. Potentially 104 million. If something goes wrong, he's got 104 of the total guarantee, but really I'm looking at it as 93. Now, 2025 base salary, 30 million. Then $46.5 million base salary in 2026. He's got a $500,000 5th day of the league year roster bonus in 2026 as well. So I'm really calling it a 3-year deal. Now, there's a lot of upside in this deal. That there's $35 million in upside. So the max value of this deal is $195 million, which would work out to $48.75 million per year. The upside is pretty interesting. By upside, I mean incentives and escalators. That he's got basically 2 tracks of escalators incentives. That there's one based on playoffs and one based on his individual performance. And the playoff incentives, it's an incentive and escalator. Anything that he earns is an incentive, gets added to the subsequent base salaries. So what he earns in 2023 is an incentive. Let's say hypothetically earn $1 million. That gets added to the 2024 base, 2025 base, and 2026 base. And then if he earned $1 million in 2024, then that would also get added to the 2025 and 2026 base. So that's how it works now. There's a cap for each track of the escalator incentives. By track, I mean the playoff track and the individual performance track. He can earn a max of $5 million in any one season for an incentive or escalator, and there's a cap, and that works for either track, and there's a cap at $17,500,000 that he can make over the life of the contract. So once you get to 17.5, then basically you can't earn anything else from that particular track. And then you get to 17.5, you max out there, you can't earn anything else as well. So that's the max at 35. Now, what are the individual thresholds, you may ask? Well, if he participates in 65% of the offensive plays and the Giants qualify for the playoffs, that's $500,000. There is another $750 for 65% of the offensive plays and the Giants win the division, wins one playoff game, and well, that's for 750. Now, if he wins one playoff game and he participates in 65% or more of the club's offensive plays in that same game, there's another $1 million. Or if the club earns a wild card bye, there's a bye during the wild card round, participates in 65% of the offensive plays during the regular season, he gets $1 million. So 2 ways to earn $1 million. Then there is $1.25 million for winning 2 playoff games and participating in 65% or more of the club's offensive plays in each playoff game. Now, if club earns a bye during the wild card round and they win one playoff game, participates in 65% or more of the offensive plays in the regular season, then he still gets the $1.25 million. Now, there's additional. These are cumulative. Then there is if club wins the Super Bowl and he participates in 65% of the offensive plays in the Super Bowl, that is $1.5 million. He is capped at $5 million, as I was saying, in any particular season for the amount that can be earned and also escalate. So max is 17.5 you can earn from that particular track, the playoff track. Now let's go to the individual performance track. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 different ways you can earn money under the individual incentives. Now, these apply each season, and for the playoffs they apply each season. So basically it's for the 2023, 24, 25, and 26 seasons. So if Jones throws 19 or more touchdown passes or ranks in the top 15 in touchdown passes, then that's $250,000. Now, 25 or more touchdown passes or ranks in the top 10, that's an additional $375,000. Now, if it's 31 or more touchdown passes or ranks in the top 5 in the NFL in the category, that's $375,000 more. Passing yards, 3,325 or more passing yards, or ranks in the top 15 in passing yards, $250,000. 3,800 passing yards or more, ranks in the top 10, that's $375,000. 4,550 or more passing yards or more, or ranks in the top 5, that's another $375,000. Now, 24 or more total touchdowns, passing, rushing, and receiving, or ranks in the top 15 in the NFL in total touchdowns, passing, rushing, and receiving, that's $250,000. 26 or more total touchdowns, or ranks in the top 10 in total touchdowns, that's another $375,000. 34 or more total touchdowns, or ranks in the top 5 in total touchdowns, that is $375,000 more. 3,700 or more total yards, passing, rushing, and receiving, or ranks in the top 15 in the NFL in total yards, passing, rushing, and receiving, that's $250,000. Okay, 4,375 or more total yards, passing, rushing, and receiving, or ranks in the top 10 in the NFL in total yards, passing, rushing, and receiving, that's another $375,000. Finally, 4,700 or more total yards, passing, rushing, and receiving, or ranks in the top 5 in total yards, passing, rushing, and receiving, that is another $375,000. Now, here the cap is a little bit different. The cap each year is not 5, it's $4 million is the most you can earn in a season, and then the escalator's $4 million. Still 17.5 is the max, but some of the stuff Daniel Jones ought to be doing for the value they're paying him for basically $37.5 million over 3 years. You ought to be ranking in the top 15. And you can make an argument you really should be in the top 10 in some of these categories. So some of this is going to be easy money for him. So if he progresses as a passer, once they get more weapons around him, and I know the receiving core, if you ranked him in the NFL, most quarterbacks would not go, I want the Giants receiving core. As the weapons around him improve, this potentially very easily could be a $40 million per year deal. The money he could earn out of this deal easily. I don't think he's going to get anywhere close to the max of $48.75 million per year. So let's say he earned half of it. And I'm counting the first 3 years. Year 4, he better be playing really well. He won't be around for that. He's got a $45 million cap hit next year. They may have to restructure, which would increase dead money, but the way the cap's supposed to grow, that would be somewhat manageable. His 2026 cap number is $56.5 million, so I'm assuming unless he makes strides, he's not seeing that year. So let's say that he earned $17.5 million. He's got $112.5 and then $17.5 million. That's $130 over 3. You're basically at $43,333,332 per year if he earns half of the money in between the two tracks. So getting to 40, I think over the first 3 years is what he ends up making is realistic based on the thresholds for the incentives. Now, we already see an impact of this deal, or his situation, not his deal, his situation on another team. The Miami Dolphins already decided, despite, and this is really early, and despite the concussion issues with Tua Tagovailoa, that they're not taking any chances of this being Daniel Jones Part 2. Let's say Tua heals with Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, the way and how he was playing when he was healthy. He'll blow past this deal if they didn't pick up the fifth-year option. So they've already picked up his fifth-year option for $23.171 million. Now, this deal to me makes it infinitely harder for the Vikings to try to get something done with Kirk Cousins. They have reportedly had extension talks with Cousins, but nothing is imminent. Now, Cousins for 2023 has a $36.25 million cap hit, $30 million in cash. He's got a $20 million third day of the league year roster bonus, which is March 17th, St. Patrick's Day. That's already fully guaranteed. So the optimal time, if you're trying to create cap room to get a deal done with Cousins, is before the roster bonus becomes set in stone on the cap on March 17th. You won't have the benefit of being able to prorate that $20 million. Now, last year on the 16th of March, Cousins signed a one-year extension for $35 million and added 2 voiding dummy years, which both expire if he's on the roster the 23rd day prior to the start of the 2024 league year. The base salary is $35 million in each of those years. So the easy thing would be, why can't we just convert those 2 dummy years into real years at that salary and then turn money into signing bonus? Maybe we don't add any more dummy years and go from there. And after this deal, that ain't going to work. Because if I'm Cousins and I am consistently in the top 10 practically every year I play in passing yards since I've been in Minnesota, passing yards, and also touchdown passes, and Daniel Jones gets money just to be in the top 10, I'm not signing for anything under $40 million a year on an extension if I'm Cousins, and probably want a little bit more. If you just take the $35 million and adjust it for salary cap inflation, that's going to get you to close to 38, because the cap's going up practically 8%, 7.97% just to be more precise. And Cousins has had this team at his mercy, so to speak, ever since they signed him to that 3-year, fully guaranteed contract for $84 million. He's kind of had him. The first time he had a transition player designation prohibition, so they really had to redo the deal after 2 years. A third franchise tag for Cousins. He's already been franchised twice. The third franchise tag is 144% of basically of his previous year's cap number. So he was able to parlay that into a 2-year extension averaging $33 million per year in 2020. So that's a $5 million per year raise. And he does another 1-year extension last year for $35 million. The thing is, if you let this thing play out and you wanted to franchise Cousins, you're talking 144% of $36.25 million. So a franchise tag would be $52.2 million. So if you want to get off the Kirk Cousins train, then you just let him play it out and you bite the bullet on the $30 million that he's going to make this year. Maybe you take the $20 million and you convert it, because you have automatic conversion rights in the contract, the roster bonus, and convert it. You got the 2 dummy years, so if you take the $20 million for Cousins, divide that by 3, you're going to pick up $13,333,333 of cap space. That may be, if you don't like the numbers of what he's thinking, and then you're like, well, we'll eat the dead money next year, bite the bullet then and be done with Cousins, and then go whatever direction you want to in quarterback in 2024, then that would be your alternative. But if you're going to get an extension done with Cousins, I don't see this thing being under $40 million per year, based on the Daniel Jones deal, and given where some of his incentives are in the escalators, that basically doing stuff Cousins does on a routine basis would add to the value of this deal. The agent's probably going to look at the upside in this deal and factor in what he thinks Cousins would make, and then use that as what the true comp is. So this Daniel Jones deal didn't do any favors, as far as I'm concerned, for Cousins. It's going to be most applicable for him. It's not going to be really applicable to Jalen Hurts. It's not going to be applicable to Joe Burrow. It's not going to be applicable to Justin Herbert. But it is a great deal for Daniel Jones. Whether it's a 3-year deal, 4-year deal, hats off to Daniel Jones for getting this contract. Well, that's going to be this week's Inside the Cap. Don't forget, you can find me on Twitter at Corey Joel. That's CORRYJOEL. You can also read my regular CBSSports.com column, Agent's Take, on NFL salary cap and contract matters. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you back here next time. Goodbye.